DramaXtra presents Belle Collective Season 6, Episode 1, Harpo Who Dis Woman? Review and Deep Dive. The premiere of Belle Collective Season 6 opens with a heavy swirl of expectation and suspicion, reminding longtime viewers that in Jackson, Mississippi, appearances are never as simple as they seem. The original Belles, Tambra Sherry, Latrice Rogers, Latia Pearson, Marie Hamilton Abston, return with more history than ever before, carrying the weight of past seasons of alliances, betrayals, and shifting loyalties. New this season is Kerri Paul, stepping into a circle already steeped in old dynamics and hidden rivalries. Turn 0 Search 11. From the first scenes, the episode teases conflict. The alleged infidelity involving Glen becomes the first spark. Rumors circulate among the group and eyes shift in suspicion. One cast member utters, "Is anyone faithful?" A pivotal question echoing through brunches, hallway confrontations, and confessional monologues. The presence of a mysterious woman tied to Glen prompts the episode's title question. Harpo Who Dis Woman? A phrase meant both literally, who is she? And figuratively, who is she in the network of trust? This mystery immediately unsettles the status quo. Turn 0 Search 5. The episode uses Marie's birthday party as its emotional fulcrum. As guests arrive, two men show up, each claiming proximity to Marie, forcing awkward questions, secrets, and alliances into the open. The camera frequently cuts between close-ups of widened eyes, forced smiles, and shifting posture, layering tension beneath polished social scenes. Simultaneously, Selena expresses frustration with Mike's inability to communicate openly. Her emotional exasperation bubbles in private confessionals, contrasting the external glamour with internal pain. Meanwhile, Latrice catches wind of rumors about Glen, forcing her to question her trust and alliances within the group. Synopsis summary from Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes. This premiere doesn't shy from dramatics, but it also gives space for vulnerability. In quieter moments, walking down halls, shifting in chairs, staring at phones after a text, these women reveal how fragile trust has become. The cinematography plays with reflections and shadows. Glances and mirrors that distort reality, windows that frame partial faces, lighting that leaves half of a face in shadow. All this visual language reinforces the core theme. No one is fully seen and every image holds secrets. Conflict is inevitable and immediate. Ashley or another Belle, depending on episode edits, presses Glen or the woman, "Show me proof of loyalty." That line, dropped in a glittering living room, hits like a challenge to the group's foundation. Some women shift uncomfortably, others smirk in anticipation. Side conversations begin. Who aligns with whom, who will protect whom, and who has the stronger reputation to command loyalty. The power balance is uneasy without Karen, if applicable, and each woman maneuvers to fill the void. New arrival Kerri Paul is introduced with careful calculation. The episode paints her in light and shadow. She's greeted with smiles but also judgment. Her initial interactions hint at alliances to be tested. Will she align with established Belles or challenge them? The premiere sets her up as both potential mediator and wildcard. Through brief but potent confessional cuts, she expresses desire to belong, but also not to be eaten alive by the existing hierarchy. By the episode's end, no one is cleared, no one is fully condemned, but many have been repositioned. The power map shifts. Bonds fracture. What began as celebration, Marie's party, closes in murmurs of betrayal. The final shots linger on faces. Someone smiling too long, someone ducking their gaze, someone clutching a glass. The credits roll over echoes of laughter that feel uneasy rather than joyful. Even as the music supports glamour, the tension lingers. The episode moves from surface glamour into subterranean tension when the women reconvene for a late evening cocktail gathering at Marie's home. The chandeliers glitter, the drinks shimmer, but the air quivers with undercurrents. Tambra Sherry attempts to steer conversation toward pleasantries, but the atmosphere resists. Eyes flicker, half-spoken sentences hang, and the camera frames hands clenching glasses too tightly. Latrice, sensing a shift, asks Glen a pointed question about loyalty. He deflects. A pregnant pause follows. Someone coughs. The lift in the music is subtle. It's not dramatic but electric. At this party, the women split into smaller groups. One corner hosts Kerri and Marie, discussing the influx of rumors. Kerri hints she's heard whispers about Glen's infidelity, not as accusation but question. Marie nods silently, holding her drink close. Their conversation is careful, coded. Across the room, Latia approaches Latrice, voice low but firm. Truth matters more now than it ever did. Latrice's face tightens. She glances over to where Ashley stands, watching. The alliances begin to form in silence more than voice. Later, in a quiet hallway, Selena confronts her tensions with Mike. She demands clarity and respect, two things she feels have been eroded. When he fails to answer, she exits the scene, stepping into the night. That moment, caught in the camera's crosslight, feels like she's walking away from more than one relationship. The show uses storm clouds above the estate and wind in trees to mirror her emotional turbulence. As the night deepens, the party fractures. Marie is pulled aside by two Belles who press for her to choose sides. The pressure becomes visible. She hesitates, caught between old loyalty and new alliances. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman tied to Glen appears in a brief shot, walking past windows, silhouetted. It's the moment the title question, Harpo Who Dis Woman? Moves from gossip to confrontation. Cameras cut to the Belles' faces reacting. Shock, anger, calculation. The episode closes on tension, not resolution. The last scene finds Tambra alone, staring at her reflection in a mirror as voices echo from beyond. The glass reflects multiple versions of her face. One smiling, one weary, one fierce. The credits roll over that image, leaving viewers unsettled and anticipating the clash to come. As Belle Collective Season 6, Episode 1 continues to unfold, the premiere makes strong use of symbolism and visual language to underline the emotional currents beneath the surface. Mirrors and reflections recur. In the bathrooms, in windows, in polished floors. Whenever a Belle hesitates or studies another, the camera often frames her reflection instead of her face, suggesting that what we see outwardly is only half the story. The lighting in interior scenes is warm and soft, but outside windows the darkness looms, an aesthetic cue that danger lurks behind every glittering facade. The costuming also plays into power dynamics. The established Belles wear bold, structured silhouettes, while Kerri's entrance outfit is slightly softer, signaling both desire to belong and a vulnerability to be tested. Another visual motif is the unsaid glance. Many confrontations in the episode are not resolved with words but with glances, sidelong looks, eyes shifting, lips tightening. The editing lingers on those beats, giving tension time to settle in. Over dinner tables, the framing often isolates 2 or 3 women in shallow depth of field, blurring others in the background, emphasizing that social cliques are forming and alliances shifting off-screen. On the thematic front, Belle Collective S6E1 emphasizes trust and reputation. The question, who is faithful? Threads through many conversations, not just about romantic fidelity but social loyalty. The Belles demand transparency, documentation, proof. That insistence reveals how in their world, reputation is currency. To belong is to be vouched for, verified, defended. The premiere pushes each woman to stake claims. Will you protect your own? Will you demand proof? Or will you risk being cast out? Another strong theme is new blood versus legacy. Kerri Paul's introduction as a new Belle is framed as both a challenge and a test. She must navigate a pre-existing hierarchy while deciding whether to adapt or disrupt. For the veterans, her arrival reignites insecurities. Will she be used, marginalized, or become the spark for power realignment? The premiere subtly foreshadows that Kerri's fate may hinge on her ability to negotiate trust and assert value without betraying connection. In terms of conflict trajectory, the seeds planted in Episode 1 suggest a season of shifting allegiances, public and private betrayal, and identity tests. We can predict that Glen's rumor arc will deepen. More women will demand evidence, cards will be shown, and perhaps not all truths will survive exposure. Kerri may be courted by multiple factions or reluctantly forced into alliances. Marie, caught at the center of her party drama, may be pressured to choose sides or reveal vulnerabilities from her past. The fractures between Latrice, Latrice, Tambra, and Marie may widen as the stakes of trust rise. For your DramaXtra review video, the wrap-up can highlight these key questions. Which friendships will survive proof? Who will rise? Who will fall? You might close by saying, Episode 1 of Belle Collective doesn't give us answers, it hands us questions. Glen's secret, Kerri's entrance, and the demand for proof all stir a pot of mistrust that promises to simmer all season. If you think you know who will align, think again. On DramaXtra, we'll track every shift, every whisper, and every truth laid bare. Stay tuned, the season is just beginning. The episode opens with a sweeping aerial shot of Jackson, Mississippi, morning mist lingering above oak trees. The Belles converge at Marie's estate for an elegant brunch. Tambra Sherry arrives first, greeting the camera with grace softened by tension. Latrice and Latrice enter afterward, laughter masking wariness. Marie welcomes guests, the table laid with fine china and floral arrangements. The staging is lush, but the air feels brittle. The first question from the ladies: has anyone heard about Glen? Immediately, the rumor acts like a pebble dropped in still water, rippling beneath every exchange. During appetizers, small talk skirts suspicion. Kerri Paul engages politely, offering compliments, watching reactions. Marie beams, but her smile falters when Glen doesn't appear. Inside confessional, Kerri reflects. In a room full of queens, I'm entering as a question mark. The juxtaposition is intentional. Her courteous exterior masks unease about placement. The gathering shifts to the garden. As the sun tilts, shadows grow. Latrice corners another Belle privately and whispers that she's heard whispers. Glen's been seen with someone else. The accused Belle laughs it off publicly, but we see her jaw tighten. Direct confrontation is resisted that moment, but the damage is done. A turning point comes when Glen unexpectedly arrives late, escorted by a woman none of the Belles recognize. Silence swims across the terrace. Marie stands. The music dims. The woman is introduced only as a friend, a label that feels thin. Eyes narrow. Phones are held tighter. In confessional, one Belle says, "She terrifies me." Another adds, "She's too composed." The premiere's drama crescendo is reached before any words are even spoken. Inside, tension seeps into movement, lighting, camera. One Belle walks down a hallway, reflections of her in mirrored glass layering like multiple selves. Another straightens her dress twice, tension visible in trembling fingers. The editing speed slows around those moments, amplifying the emotional corridors between characters more than the spoken ones. At Marie's birthday dinner that night, the Belles are seated in ornate chairs, the chandelier framing them like actors on a stage. Wine glasses clink. Eyes shift. Finally, the woman tied to Glen reveals she has known him through business. She presents a small photo. Gasp. The table freezes. Tambre's hand leaps to her chest. Latrice's eyes widen. The music cuts. The reveal, though minimal, is enough to fracture trust. In the final scenes, the Belles retreat to their private rooms. Soft lighting, solitude, and confessionals reveal cracks. Tambre removes her earrings and stares in the mirror. Latrice massages her forehead in despair. Kerri lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, realizing she stepped into something far heavier than alliances. The camera lingers on phones receiving unread texts. The last shot, Marie standing by the terrace door, wind in her hair, eyes on the horizon, but her shoulders carry uncertainty. Credits roll. DramaXtra style outro/call to action. And that is episode 1 of Belle Collective Season 6, Harpo Who Dis Woman? A premiere not of resolution, but provocation. Glen's arrival, Kerri's entrance, and that mysterious woman have shifted the social chessboard. Allegiances will bend. Secrets will shatter. Trust is already dead. Who do you believe? Who do you side with? And perhaps most important, who feels most dangerous under the calm? Drop your thoughts below. Which Belle intrigues you most? Which one do you fear? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a twist. Because here on DramaXtra we don't just watch reality, we map its power. Until next time, queens, let the next move speak. Crown the emotional architecture of the episode. Behind every word and gesture in episode 1 lies a delicate architecture of emotion. The Belles don't only trade shade, they trade insecurity. Each confession scene feels like therapy disguised as television. Tambre's composure hides fear of obsolescence. Latrice's laughter shields resentment. Marie's calm is an act of endurance. The new Belle, Kerri, embodies what the others once were. Ambitious, untested, still believing success can coexist with friendship. That innocence makes her both target and mirror. The editing reinforces this tension. Moments of silence linger half a beat longer than comfort allows. Background noise drops just before every emotional hit. Even the color palette changes when truth threatens to surface. Gold and champagne tones dim into bruised purples. The show knows that in the South, confrontation rarely comes from raised voices. It arrives through manners sharpened into weapons, power, image, and survival. Episode 1 reestablishes the unspoken hierarchy that governs Belle Collective. Reputation is currency, appearance is armor, and secrets are leverage. Each woman understands that the camera is both spotlight and judge. The act of being filmed becomes an additional layer of performance. One must defend image even while living reality. This dual consciousness fuels the tension at Marie's party. Smiles that glitter, laughter that cuts. The arrival of the mysterious woman with Glen detonates that fragile system. Her mere presence exposes the limits of poise. The older belles instinctively retreat to performance, sarcasm, toasts, wardrobe adjustments, while the younger ones show shock unfiltered. Social commentary. Beyond drama, the episode touches subtler commentary about Southern womanhood, class, and race. Belle Collective situates its glamour inside real-world struggles. Entrepreneurship as self-defense, marriage as negotiation, respectability as strategy. Glen's alleged betrayal becomes metaphor for how public success cannot insulate private vulnerability. Through its editing rhythm, the show critiques the cost of having it all. You pay in trust, authenticity, and sleep. Foreshadowing and season predictions. The premiere's unresolved tension promises several arcs. Glen's infidelity storyline will likely split alliances and test marriages. Kerri's integration will expose fractures between old loyalty and new ambition. Marie's leadership position will force her to mediate conflicts she once avoided. Letitia's quest for authenticity may collide with her need for control. Every glance, every incomplete sentence, hints that by mid-season at least one belle will fall publicly while another rises from her fallout. The phrase proof of loyalty will recur. Proof as text messages, photos, alliances, receipts. The stakes of friendship will become evidence itself. DramaXtra closing reflection for this chapter. Episode 1 ends not with closure but with choreography, each belle stepping into position for a season-long dance of loyalty, legacy, and exposure. The question isn't who lied, it's who can afford to tell the truth. Queens, what did you see behind the smiles? Drop your theories below, because on DramaXtra, we don't just recap reality, we read between its glances. Tambra Sherry, the mask of poise. Tambra enters the season carrying the posture of calm authority, but her body language betrays tension. She straightens her shoulders before speaking, glances briefly at cameras, and modulates her tone so carefully that the effort itself becomes visible. In episode 1, she is less a participant and more an observer trying to protect her brand. Her restraint reads as power until emotion leaks through her composure when Glen's rumor surfaces. Symbolically, Tambra represents the modern professional woman balancing public grace and private fragility. The cinematography isolates her in wide shots at social events, visually elegant, emotionally distant. Marie Hamilton Abston, the architect of control. Marie begins the season as the host, queen of the opening gathering, but that role exposes her need to curate every detail of her world. Her dialogue often pivots to order, plans, proofs, evidence. When her party spins into rumor and suspicion, her smile stiffens. In the editing rhythm, Marie's shots shorten as her control erodes, proof that her composure is performance under siege. She personifies the cost of leadership among peers who question authority, loneliness dressed in velvet. Latrice Rogers, the defiant strategist. Latrice remains one of the franchise's most dynamic belles, sharp, entrepreneurial, self-aware. In this premiere, she oscillates between defending reputation and defending emotion. Her humor shields vulnerability, but when she confronts Glen, the laughter thins. She embodies survival through intellect. Every conversation becomes negotiation. The camera frames her often with reflective surfaces, mirrors, polished metal, suggesting that she strategizes by studying her own reflection before acting. Her arc this episode revolves around power through restraint. She knows when not to speak. Latia Pearson, the moral voice. Letitia's storyline opens with an attempt to restore unity, yet she becomes the one who reminds others that truth matters more now than it ever did. Her insistence on authenticity undercuts the show's culture of image. Thematically, she functions as conscience, a necessary but uncomfortable presence. Cinematically, her scenes are often under softer lighting, emphasizing sincerity over spectacle. She is the emotional grounding force that the show continually tests. Kerri Paul, the new belle, the mirror of innocence. Kerri's introduction is subtle but strategic. She observes more than she speaks, her polite demeanor masking a sharp analytical instinct. The other belles see her as both curiosity and potential threat. In one confessional, she admits, "I'm not here to replace anyone, but I'm not here to disappear either." That line defines her arc. She must learn how to exist in a hierarchy without surrendering individuality. Symbolically, Kerri is the show's mirror to its audience. We too enter this circle mid-conversation, learning the rules as we go. The mysterious woman, the catalyst. Her brief appearance ignites the entire plot. She speaks little, yet her presence redraws every boundary. In cinematic language, she represents temptation, rumor, and the disruption of order. The show uses her as living metaphor, truth personified but uninvited. Every character's reaction to her reveals their core insecurity: Tambre's fear of exposure, Marie's fear of losing control, Latrice's fear of humiliation. Even the lighting around her shifts toward cooler tones, setting her apart from the warm palette of the established cast. The collective symbolism. Across these characters, Episode 1 constructs a mosaic of identity and status. The collective, in Belle Collective, is tested by the very thing that should unite them: visibility. Each woman must decide whether to curate or confess. The premiere therefore becomes a psychological race disguised as socialite spectacle. The true antagonist isn't Glen or the newcomer, it's exposure. In this sense, the mysterious woman functions as the mirror the Belles spend the season avoiding. DramaXtra analysis hook. Episode 1 isn't about who's right, it's about who can survive being seen. Each Belle builds her kingdom from perception, and one stray rumor can turn a crown into a mirror. That's why this season begins not with a war, but with a reflection. The cinematic language. From its opening sequence, the episode proves that Belle Collective understands the grammar of visual storytelling. The director's camera seldom shouts, it lingers. Long takes of the Jackson skyline dissolve into close-ups of manicured hands pouring champagne. Each shot is constructed like a frame in a southern portrait, ornate, symmetrical, and faintly melancholic. When tension rises, the lens tightens, trapping the women inside their own luxury. Mirrors and doorframes act as natural borders, dividing one Belle from another even while they occupy the same room. The cinematography communicates isolation through beauty. Every sparkle is a barrier. Editing rhythm. The editing rhythm mirrors conversation. Elegant pauses punctuated by emotional staccato. The cuts accelerate during conflict, especially when Glen's rumored infidelity surfaces, then stretch into lingering stillness after each confrontation. This ebb and flow mimics the way politeness in Southern culture disguises shock. Even the score obeys this rhythm. Orchestral swells give way to soft percussion, reminding viewers that every moment of glamour hides the heartbeat of anxiety. The pacing feels musical, using silence as percussion, color and light. Episode 1's palette moves from golden daylight to deep indigo night, reflecting the emotional descent from public grace to private reckoning. At Marie's brunch, the whites and creams glow with harmony. By the final scenes, shadows dominate, creating chiaroscuro compositions that make each Belle half angel, half accuser.